Welcome back, everybody. And in this episode, I speak with Leigh Woolard, and we talk about everything from having twins to experiences growing up, his business journey, and most importantly, how he survived cancer and how his thoughts alone he contributes to what helped him heal through visualization and journaling and the true power of belief, to be honest, and much more. So, before we get started, subscribe if you haven't already, like and comment down below your thoughts and opinions of this episode. Enjoy. Peace. Welcome to the Unwritten podcast with your host, Thomas Malpass, where we are on a mission to help the world find more purpose, passion, and peace in their everyday lives. Through deep conversations and connection, tune in because we are all on this journey of life together. I'm not used to this much work, but it's fulfilling and it's fun and it's exciting. But yeah, because I wake up at like 7. I wake up at like between 6:30 to 7, and then I have to get my girls ready for school. And their school is like 10 minutes away. They're 6. They're twins.
Twins. I've got twins.
Really?
Yeah, twin boys. They're 14.
They're a little bit older. Yeah, mine are
Do you
twin
enjoy
girls.
it?
Huh?
Yeah, do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy having twin girls?
I do. I do. I don't know. They're like the one thing that teaches you like true like unconditional love. You know? It's like
Yep.
you love them no matter what. And I think that's hard to find in like intimate relationships with like your significant other or something. It takes time. It's not the same.
Yep. I think with your significant other, you both have paradigms and conditioning. So you have to be able to work through
Yeah.
those. Whereas with children, the children pick it up from both of you. So
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
they get older, you start to get lessons from either one of them, especially because they're the same age. You start to notice some of
Yeah.
your things you need to work on. They're teaching you that lesson. I'm going through it, probably amplified now because they're
Because they're
teenage boys.
teens. Yeah.
So I'm really starting to notice where I have to be patient, or I have to explain things a little bit differently, or make sure I'm not resonating too closely with one and not the other.
I
So
think what's gonna help
great
me.
teachers.
Yeah. I think what's gonna help me during their teenage years is just giving them the grace because we were all teenagers
Yep.
and I was a very rebellious teenager and I didn't listen to my mom. My mom was a single parent as well. And
Yep.
yeah, I didn't listen to her. You know, she gave me curfews. She disciplined me when I wasn't behaving. But in the teenage years, you're like discovering like autonomy and you're just like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Especially boys. I have an older son as well, so I've been through it with one teen
oh,
already.
really? You have another one?
Yeah, he's 23 now, so I had him quite
Oh, okay.
young, and
Okay.
all I ever did through his teenage years was just put my arm around him and say, "Hey,
Mm,
it's okay." Like, allowed him to make mistakes, and then say, rather than be reactive,
yeah.
okay, do you think that was how you want to be? Do you think that's how you want
Yeah.
to act? You do it. Okay, it's all right. You made a mistake. Just learn from it,
I think
and it's
that's,
empowered him.
yeah. I think that's how it should be done, I guess. You have to allow kids growing up to make mistakes.
But,
It
we never
teaches them.
stop learning.
We're not,
Yeah.
because we're not taught at school. The mistakes you get a big red cross against, and you focus on the mistakes. You're not focusing on what people did well. So you come out of
Yeah.
school with that conditioning. You go into life and you're too frightened to make a mistake because you think, oh, I'm going to get judged or I'm going to get a big red X. So you're programmed before you even start.
Yeah.
So with my kids, all we've ever done is say, hey, make the mistake. Because I had to get over it. Once I learned how to make mistakes and go, actually, they're teaching me the lesson that I need to learn so that I can move forward faster.
Mhm.
Best thing I ever discovered, because now I've given it as a gift to my kids.
Yeah. And then hopefully they pay it forward and it goes on and on.
I didn't discover it till I was 40. So they're now discovering it at a younger age and hopefully they pass it on. Absolutely.
Yeah. But let's get into this episode. Um, I know I don't want to waste your time, and I know you
There's
have
no
a
waste.
great story. Yeah. um, but I start off every episode pretty much the same way. I have a introduction question, and then we go from there.
Yep.
So the first question is, take us back, share some experiences that shaped who you are today and what you think purpose, passion, and peace is.
Okay. So I was born in Australia originally, to a British mother and an Australian father. They were 17 when they had me, so young parents. My dad was in sales and then moved into running his own business. So I watched somebody grow a business and what it
Hmm.
took, and was always interested in the whole entrepreneurial journey. I think I sort of looked up to him. So it was like, hey, I want to do the same thing. I was fortunate to have a mum who was very loving and caring and stayed at home. So I had two very different, when I say parents, a hardworking father, a hardworking mother, but she was more at home and more present.
Mm.
Fantastic schooling, as in went to school with some great people, had a great circle of friends, and then at 19 decided that I wanted to see some of the world.
Hmm.
So I packed up my bag, flew to the UK, where my mum was originally from, with the intention to stay a year. If it didn't last a year, I was going to further my language. I was learning Japanese at the time, so
How did that
and then I
go?
ended up staying. Yeah, very good. I did it at university level, but I haven't used it a lot since.
If you went to
So
Japan, could you get by and speak?
um, yeah, I did go to Japan. I had about a month there with two families, and I accelerated my learning when I was there.
Mm.
However, because of being in Australia, I was always thinking, well, I'll do business and international
Yeah.
business,
Hmm.
Japanese. Coming to England stopped that. It's not a big. There's not a lot of trade between the two countries here. Not where I am, anyway.
Yeah.
So certainly one of the turning points was when I made that decision that I wanted to leave at 19 and explore some of the world. So
Yeah.
I was one of the first to go out of my friends. I think I was always the adventurous one and probably in some ways very immature, but in other ways very mature. And this was a mature decision, which started to shape me and my independence.
Yeah.
As much as I loved where I was from and my parents were great, I felt a little bit stifled and I wanted to get out and see the world and experience it for myself. So I was independent from a very young age, from 19.
Yeah.
Decided to stay here in the UK, went to university for 6 years on a night time. In that time, my son was born. Finished university and set a business up in my final year of university. That was 2006, doing digital advertising. It had just really started around about then. People
Yeah.
predominantly.
That's kind of when it started to blow up because you had like the .com boom, and then um, technology just
Google,
started to really
Google came
advance
in.
during that time.
It was already. already going in America, but it wasn't really going in the rest of the world. So it was an opportunity that I'd studied at uni that I was like, right, I'm doing this. And I just
Yeah.
went out and started helping as many businesses as I could. Landed some fantastic big international clients in that journey. One of the most prestigious British brands called Silver Cross. They make prams and have done for over 100 years, 130 years, I think. In fact, maybe even more now. I
Mhm.
got to work with the Mercedes Formula One team, expand them online. We transitioned from paid ads to, well, we kept some paid ads, but we then moved into Facebook ads and social media advertising in 2014. Then by 2019, I just started to feel like I wanted to do something a little bit more. I was always, and don't get me wrong, very, very
Really?
grateful for the people and learning lessons I learned, but I was helping these businesses sell a commodity. And
Yeah.
it was great. But the fulfillment wasn't, well, how do I impact
Yeah.
somebody's life?
Yeah.
So 2019, actually the 1st of August, which was the day of my twin boy's birthday, that morning, I was diagnosed with bone cancer. And even at the time of the diagnosis, I felt fine, as in, I wasn't feeling good in my health. I had health challenges, but straight away a light went on and was like, okay, what's causing this? Let's go find out. And I felt like that from the minute that I was told. Now, obviously, it impacted the people around me a little bit more because there was a lot of uncertainty of how long I would have to live and what treatments I had to go through and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
What like uh what even got you into the doctors that decided to like how you got diagnosed? Like what made you even go there and be like something's wrong?
yeah, I started to feel unwell when I was exercising, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm just a little bit burnt out with work. Maybe it's a virus.
Mhm.
Then I was playing football or soccer in the garden
Yeah.
with my boys, and I was doubled over. I
The
just
real
couldn't go
football.
anymore. And they were, yeah, 9 at the time, so still young. And I can remember in them running around me, going, come on, Dad, are you giving up?"
Yeah.
And they know, I never give up on anything. Um,
That's good.
Sometimes I would let them win a little bit, but a lot of the time, I would make it challenging for them because, I wanted
Yeah.
them to grow and they loved it. And I just couldn't go. So in that moment, it was, okay, there's something wrong. And my wife said to me, you need to get tested. There's something wrong. And I
Mhm.
still was not in denial, but believed it was a
Something
virus.
not as big. Yeah.
And then that night, I was trying to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I had pains through my shoulders and in my chest, and it was just constrictive. So I found myself at 4 o'clock in the morning walking around in the dark, um, moving my arms around and just trying to loosen
Yeah.
things up,
Yeah.
and still thinking it's a virus. Had the blood test, and they said, "Look, we'll contact you in about 3 days with the results." Da da da. Anyway, that night my phone rang, and I didn't take the call initially, and it went to voicemail, and it was the hospital. So I went into a different room and spoke to them, and they said, "Look, we want you in now." And I was thinking, this is obviously a lot more serious than what they're saying. I said, "Look, when
Mhm.
will I be in?" She said, "First thing in the morning." I said, "Look, let me come in first thing in the morning. I don't want to worry my wife and my kids." So I went in the next
Mhm.
morning, had what's called a bone marrow done, where they go into your bone, and
Mhm.
then
They like drill in.
from yeah, and they got it wrong the first time, so they had to do it twice, which
Ooh.
wasn't pleasurable. But
Did
hey,
they numb
and
it?
that's,
They numb it?
yeah, but
You could
it's
still
into your
feel it,
pelvis, so
like the grinding.
still, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but again, I was still a very, I don't know, I'd gone into a different place. It was like, okay, something's going on. Let's figure it out. Anyway, within a
Mhm.
short while, I was diagnosed, and there was a lot of, again, like I said, uncertainty about it. And at that point, so the actual diagnosis was the morning of my twin boy's birthday. We had 15 kids coming over to go for a party, and my wife was
Party.
like, "We need to call it." And I said, "No, let's not jump yet. Let's just put it to the side. We'll do the party and we'll go from there." So it made me say, "Look, something's going on. I want to figure this out." So I started the treatment. I wasn't feeling great. The treatment was tiring me out. I wasn't, I was waking up some days at lunchtime, and I had a business to run, and my business was challenging me at the time. As in,
Mm-hmm.
we had some great customers and I had staff, but like any business, financially at times it was pushing me. And always wanted to be there for my kids, so I didn't work ridiculous
Yeah.
hours. I worked. It was more of a lifestyle business than it was a business I wanted to grow.
Okay. I mean,
So
yeah, yeah,
so I had a month where I was taking treatment, not feeling great, and I started to look around for stuff. And I didn't know what I was looking for, but I started to look around. And a advert popped up on social media from an older gentleman, and he said, "Your way's not working. Why don't you try mine?" And I thought, he seems pretty wise. He also seems to know that my way isn't working. I'm just going to have a look at this.
He spoke directly to you.
He spoke directly to me,
That's
directly.
that's
And
uh that's how you know that advertising is working.
yeah, and he obviously, he knew his stuff. And that
Yeah.
person was Bob Proctor. So he'd helped
Oh,
people for over
really?
60 years. Yeah. So I had a look at what he offered and what he did, and then I was like, this is it. I'm in. Um, because the reality was I didn't have a lot of other places to turn other than going through treatment. And I thought, right, I'm going to have
Yeah.
a look at what this is. So he
How
became
did
my
you
mentor for
feel? How did you feel when you first got diagnosed? Like when they were like, you have bone cancer. Like what kind of feelings were going through your mind, and like how did you think of the future at that point?
the feeling initially, straight away, was I'm going to figure this out. That's honestly how it was. There was
Because you're
no,
gonna figure out everything.
because I've been doing
That's a
that
good
since I was a
mindset.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since a kid, I've always been like that. And it's not, there wasn't, I wouldn't say there was any fear or worry, because at that point in time, I didn't have anything to fear or worry about. It was, you've got space now to go on a journey and figure this out. Let's go. Let's go and have a look and at least explore before you start worrying.
See,
And I've kind of
that's
always
a great
operated.
mindset. Because
Thank you
the
very much.
initial, yeah, the initial. I mean, you think of the majority of people, they they won't think like that. They'll think, "What am I gonna do?" You know,
Yeah,
like what does the future hold? It. When I think of cancer, I think of anxiety, uh, uncertainty,
yeah,
um, and just like fear. Where do you think
absolutely.
that like? Because you do have a great mind. Like it's not common to have that mindset. What do you think instilled that in you from a child? Like, was it your parents or?
Yeah. I think because they were young, I grew up quite quickly. So I was hanging around with
Mm,
18, 19, and 20 year
they were
olds
still growing
early.
up.
No, they were growing up.
Yeah,
They didn't have friends who had children. Obviously, once I went to school and started hanging around with people my age, but that first 3 years was, I was hanging around with adults.
yeah.
So that, I think, instilled it certainly from my father's side. He's very driven, and when there's something to figure out, and I think I've always been doing that since I was a child.
Hmm. And then, so, and then from there, after your feelings, um, what's after that?
So my immediate thought was, I'm going to figure it out.
Hmm.
I Once I got introduced to understanding how your thoughts create your feelings create your actions create your results.
Yeah.
I said to my mentor, I was like, "Where's this come from?" And he says, "You're holding on to something. Your body's a manifestation of what's going on in your mind. You're holding on to something, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And I'd held on to stuff in my bones. Now, it wasn't
Mm,
anything major, like significant life, moment, or I was abused or anything like that. I just was quite good at holding things in, holding any frustration or
like
any anger or whatever.
emotions.
Yeah, my emotions I always kept to myself. I projected, hey, I'm calm and everything's okay. But
Yeah.
internally, I would spend most days holding
I
stuff
think
in because
that's
I didn't
the
want.
yeah, I think that's the misconception for men. Men in
Yeah,
particular. And I was talking about this on another podcast, but man, if you're listening to this and you're a man, just express your emotions. It could save you from cancer, literally.
yeah.
Uh, and because when you withhold your emotions, they begin to manifest elsewhere. I even
I
experienced it
easy
myself too. All right, go ahead.
doing what? No, no, go on. Doing what?
Oh, yeah, I was uh when my ex I first discovered she was cheating and we were still living together and trying
Yeah,
to deal with that. I didn't know how to express my emotions. So I had night sweats for like a month where my entire bed would be like drenched. Like
yeah.
literally like if I just got done running a marathon type drenched. And I was like, why am I like why? And then it wasn't until I started to figure it out like, man, I just need to let this out and find a space to just cry or something. And yeah, it started to go away.
It's an important lesson that you're giving your listeners and your audience there, because I can remember the moment where I had to release, even this was
Mhm.
post having the cancer, where I had to release some emotion, as in be vulnerable, because I'd
Mhm.
never been vulnerable most of my life.
Yep.
I'd held it in.
It's hard for
I'm,
men.
I'm strong, I can go, and it's we can get programmed or conditioned by our friends, our society, our parents, and nobody's to blame for
Mhm.
that. But when you're not conditioned to do it, you hold it
You
in.
hold it in. Yep.
And it manifests and it starts to create health issues. And seeing some people getting to their end of their life now where they've got health issues, a lot of it's from being in a state of worry, doubt, fear, or anxiety for most of their life. Now, I would never
Yeah.
have said I had anxiety because it didn't show, but actually internally I had a form of it because it was suppressing emotion and
Mhm.
then not showing it externally but holding it all internally. So my internal was toxic, but my
Mhm.
external was, hey, everything's okay. But actually, sometimes I'd
Yeah.
be having internal conversations going, I'm not feeling good and I don't know how to express this. And is it a sign of weakness if I do? Not that I ever
No.
looked at it like that, but I couldn't do it. So once the
Yeah.
first time I did it, it was really difficult. Then it became a bit easier. And then it was like, okay. And then I just shifted my mindset with it, going, if you don't learn this lesson now, you're just going to pass this on to your kids. And if you don't want to do
Yeah.
that, dig in and learn the lesson. So everything that happens in my life from that moment on, when I started to learn understanding the power of your thoughts,
Mhm.
I always look at it and go, okay, whatever's happening, let's look at the learning lessons from it. And then you've got a gift that you can give to your children first, your partner, your friends, and
Mhm.
then the extended people that you support. So when I'm working with my business customers or whatever I'm doing, they're the gifts that I can give them now, which start to change their results.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that like you need to help yourself first before you can help other people. You need to be whole before you can help somebody else cuz if you're not whole, you can't you have to uh overflow your cup, you know. When you think of like a
Most
cup, you have to have it overfilling so that you can give to other people.
most people who give to other people don't actually understand that they have to give to themselves. And it's a pattern that I've seen and certainly was me as well. And it took until my back was against the wall, which was the wake up call for me to go, okay, I'm doing a lot of giving to others, but actually I'm not giving to myself. And it was
Mhm.
learning that step that goes, actually, you need to do that first so that you have the space to be able to give to others instead of give to others. And then when I've given, given, and given more, then it'll be my turn. And the amount of
Yeah.
people that I come into contact that do that, that are quite often getting to the end where they're just like, I just put everybody else first my whole life and not myself. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, now you need to.
I
And
think
it's a
because
new step.
people yeah, I think because people, see it as selfish.
Yeah.
What would you tell those people that are like, "Well, that's selfish?"
I don't want this to sound harsh, but this is what I
It's
say in
alright, you
my
can
stuff.
be harsh.
And sometimes we need this, and I needed it. It's actually more selfish to not give to others because you're not showing up as the best version of you. So,
Mm,
yes, it's great to give, absolutely. But if you 100% of the time are giving to everybody else and nothing to yourself, you don't have the space then, one, to look after yourself the way that you should, to be fully present in the relationships that you're in, and giving to the immediate people around you the best version of you so that they can learn or develop themselves. And it wasn't until I started to do that and prioritize me first that I
mhm.
started to see my kids shift. And children are great at watching you. And for you, it's a great lesson to watch them because they change so quickly. They don't carry the backpacks that we do.
Yeah, it is that's one thing that it's just, it just amazes me every day to see your children if you have children, you see them grow so fast, and I mean, I'm still young. I had kids young as well. I'm 29, and I had them when I was 23, 24. So, yeah, it's just, I feel like that's like the fruit of life or something. It's just, it's
Yep.
so
Come into your
heartwarming.
life for, yeah.
Yeah. It's like bittersweet. Like you see them grow up so fast, but eventually they're going to have to leave the nest.
And all you can do in that time is again show up the best version of yourself that you can. That starts by giving to you first, whatever that is, in your health, in your
Hmm.
relationships, your physical, mental, and emotional health, which is the most
Yeah.
important. Because your kids
The
will
way,
be, they're going to mirror you. They'll mirror you.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. They definitely, yeah, they become little versions of you.
And
But,
sometimes that's scary. If you know what
yeah,
you've been through or what demons you're battling or challenges that you're faced with or what conditions you bring down from your grandparents to your parents to you, at some point you have to be the person who breaks that DNA line
yeah.
and say,
I think that
I've got a
takes
good
a
in me.
lot of self-awareness. I
Big one.
think when it comes down to it, a lot of these issues people have, honestly, I think it starts with self-awareness, and then
Absolutely.
it trickles from there. Like, okay, like what are you not taking accountability for? And then being aware that your actions affect the people around you. And like you were saying earlier, it is kind of more selfish to not take care of yourself first, because if you think about it, when you are giving back to other people, it's like you're giving a half-assed version of yourself when you want the full force of who you are to give back to people.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And awareness is that. I walked around for a lot of years with no awareness. Life just happened by default. So
Mm,
when I woke up on a morning, I would get up and I would go and again, I'm not ungrateful for what I was doing or where I was, but there was a longing and a discontent in there, a feeling that I want to do and be more, and I
yeah.
believe that the universe saying, okay, you need something to wake you up now. You're not awake yet. You're not aware. And awareness was the first step where, and it was, there was a book I read called The Power of Awareness, where I went,
Okay.
okay, and
I thought you were
now
gonna say The Power of Now. Have you heard of that
I'm
one?
reading that. I'm reading that
Yeah.
one at the moment. And the most influential book I ever read at that early stage was The Power of
Mhm.
the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. It opened my mind to understand, okay, having that awareness, what do you need to do now to change the story or the image or your imagination? And then how does that manifest and come into your life? And it was all brand new to me at the time. But I was like, do you know what? What you've been doing isn't working.
Yeah.
Dive in, because there's too many cases where people have had success in whatever they want to do. And I'm
Mhm.
not talking about just financial, I'm talking about changes to their health. That was where I started. Changes to relationships, i.e., with children or parents or their partners, to actually how do you apply this now into your life, whether it's a career or a business, and have design it rather than just show up every day and it happen to you.
Mhm. You have to take back control of your life.
Yeah. And embrace that you can design it. We're not taught that. We're kind of in a way just on a machine where we show up every day and you're kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, what happens to me
You're
today?
just,
I'm going
like,
to
told
react
what to
to it.
do or something or react, yeah.
React to it, as opposed to, well, no, actually you can design it. And it might sound out there like you can't do it, but you've got a choice. You can either do it before your back's against the wall, which I highly recommend, because I had to I had to navigate my way from back here to where I am today, which again, so grateful that I went on that journey, because it's allowing me to help lots of people in very different circumstances, from
Yeah.
health challenges to relationship challenges to business challenges.
Yeah, sometimes adversity can be, like, a blessing in disguise when you look back at it and reflect, um,
Yeah.
and you gain experience and knowledge and wisdom that a lot of people may never truly experience in their life. When you have, like, a life-threatening disease and you recover from it. So how did you what do you think was the reason you recovered? Did you just start taking care of your health? Do you think it was attributed to your mindset and your thoughts and how that your thoughts do manifest into your body, or how do you think that happened?
The first thing I started to do was picture what I wanted. So I created a vision for the life I wanted. So at that point that I was in the garden, doubled over and not able to play football with my kids, immediately my first image of what would you love was, I want to be healthy and well and playing football with my kids. Okay, and that's how it started, the vision. So I started to just see myself on the field down the road from our house playing football and us laughing and rolling in the grass, and because we're boys and we're a bit of a wrestle and so forth.
Yeah.
And also added to that was, well, I wanted to see my wife and I walking hand in hand down the beach. Now,
Mhm.
where we live, we're quite far from the beach, but that always makes me feel relaxed and a way where the two of us can just chat about life, or have our own space. And at that
Yeah.
time, it was not looking anything like that. Every day, I kept repeating that. Every day, I wrote down in my journal, I'm so happy and grateful now, and those
Mhm.
things, that I'm playing football with my boys, we're laughing, we're wrestling, it's fantastic. I'm vibrant, healthy, and alive. I'm so happy and grateful now. My wife and I are in a harmonious marriage, walking down the beach, discussing life and where we're going to
Yeah.
travel. And again, the first day I did this, my life did not look like any of that at all.
Mhm.
After about 3 months, and it was every
Okay.
day, I'd get up first thing in the morning, do it every single day. After about 3 months, I started to notice things started to shift. I wasn't in the
Mm.
pain that I was in, I wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
Um, I was having a blood test, and the blood test results were starting to get lower. And I was like,
Mhm.
I know this is starting to change. I could feel it. And then
Yeah.
another 3 months later, my health had changed, but even in the interim of that, I was starting to apply it into my business and what I really wanted. So
Hmm.
both of those things started to improve.
Yeah.
6 months later, I go for a blood test, and they're like, we don't know what's happened, but you're in remission. You're not fully there yet, but you're in remission.
Yeah.
Like, doing it's incredible. Now, I shared with them what I'd been doing, and they didn't believe it. no, you need drugs. You need to do chemotherapy, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well,
Uh,
it's working. And no,
yeah.
they were amazing. They were in my
Mhm.
life and helped me at a period that I needed the help and support. And I'm grateful to them. But I chose an alternative route. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Fast forward 12 months later, an opportunity came up to coach my boys' football team. So they played in a team. They'd had a coach from 6 until 11 or 12, and he was a
Mhm.
fantastic guy, but he had to go away. And then
Mhm.
everyone was like, you have to be their coach, like, because I was always kind of supporting but not there. So my vision was
Yeah.
to be playing with my kids. But actually, what happened was I was like the universe said, hey, here's something for you. Do you want
Take it
more?
one step further. Yeah.
It gave me, and how this is how I always look at life now. Whenever you're visualizing something, it's this or something even better. So as much as I was playing football with my kids and enjoying it, I got to go to that next level. So now I play football with them every Tuesday, every Saturday, every Sunday. We've, as a team, grown as a team. We've applied, when I say some of these principles, I don't talk to the kids about the power of the subconscious mind and your thoughts, but I started getting them to think about things that they would love. And we
Yeah.
kept reiterating that. Then we became a very good team. Like we went undefeated last season when they used to get beaten a lot. I've now got 17 more surrogate sons, and my kids
Yeah.
always say, Dad, we love having you as a coach. And for me, that's more rewarding and more important than the results we're getting, or if it's frustrating because we're not playing well or whatever it is, it doesn't bother me. Does not bother me
Mhm.
at all. It's when my kids come home and say they're proud to have their dad as the coach, then I couldn't ask for any more than that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we take the small things for granted when sometimes the small things is really the things that make us fulfilled in life and bring us joy in life is those moments
You
where you
did
just are appreciative, you know?
you did a great podcast recently about gratitude and being grateful every
Yeah.
day, and it's so important. And when I researched it, as in learning about gratitude too, it is important to be grateful for all of those smaller moments, because a
Mhm.
lot of people think, oh, I've got to be grateful when I get a big house. I've got to be grateful when I get a big car and all
When
of this sort of stuff.
yeah.
And you're always waiting, and it's not. And again, I never used to believe it until I started to do it and practice it and go, do you know what? These things are important. And then it starts to program you, then all of a sudden more things happen. The next level of gratitude that I learned was being grateful in a situation. Now,
Mhm.
I was grateful in that situation of being diagnosed with bone cancer. I don't know why at the time, but I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I now look
Yeah.
back at it and go, I was so grateful that happened because it was the turning point that shifted the way that I operate. And now I'm
Mhm.
able to help my children, my wife, and the people around me and the people that I serve. So being
Yeah.
grateful in a circumstance. So even now, when I have challenges in business or we have a family challenge, none of them feel, I don't feel frustrated. I don't feel,
Yeah.
sometimes absolutely a little bit of,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this, but actually I go, actually, I'm grateful in this situation.
It
So when
doesn't
you have
take
a,
as much it doesn't take as much away from you than it used to.
and for you, when you were talking about your circumstance before and waking up in cold sweats and so forth, it's like, okay, how do I
Yeah.
be grateful in that situation? Okay, what did I
Yeah.
learn? How am I going to be a better parent to my children? How am I going to be a better partner, X, whatever? How am I going to show up? How am I going to do podcasts and serve people and share message and interview people and all of that, learning from those things and being grateful in them brings them to where you are now.
Yeah, I think I see being grateful in any moment is like it's like a trump card, like
It's
that.
the highest level of gratitude.
Yeah, to me, and like genuinely feeling it, it's like it doesn't take all of your problems away, but it it shifts your mindset. You're like what is wrong? Like, no, just be genuinely grateful that you're alive and well, because some people, you know, we take it for granted.
Yeah. And it's easy to get caught up in day to day things and live in a vibration of stress and anxiety
Mm,
and worry. Well, lots of people worry about money. It's probably one of the biggest ones. And
yeah.
I used to. I'll admit I used to, because that was my
Mm,
conditioning. And it wasn't until I realized that actually worrying about it doesn't solve it. It just, if anything, amplifies it and puts you under more
yeah.
stress. Why don't you just try something different? So I did. And things changed in my life because of it. And look, it didn't happen in one night. And I probably spent a year, two, really. And even now, I'm still developing it now. I don't feel like it
Yeah.
stops. I certainly feel like, do you know what? I'm in a more peaceful place because of it. And of my health now is the greatest it's ever been. And I feel it.
So every day, do you still do that every day? So you attribute that is the primary. Were you exercising? Were you doing anything else besides your daily gratitude journal and visualization
I,
exercises?
I added exercise to it for physical health, but I didn't do that until I'd already been given the all clear, because my
Oh, wow.
mind was the first thing I need to exercise is my conditioning and how I think about things.
Mhm.
Do that. Okay, now you're that. Okay, you do, now you want some time for yourself and your health. Okay, now
Mhm.
you want some time for your relationships. How do you show up in your relationship? So a little, I guess, tip I can give to people, or something that I did. I had an alert on my phone at 5:30, and
Yeah.
it says, "Be a loving and present husband and father." And that reminder at 5:30 was for when I left the office to go home, to sit in the car out the front of the house and stop, pause, take a few breaths, and shift from thinking about work to, right, let it go now. And
Yeah.
again, doing that, it still comes up on my phone now, and I smile when I see it, but it's automatic now. But at first, it wasn't what
Yeah.
I did. Like a lot of people, it was like, I haven't finished all those tasks, and I've got this customer wanting this, and we need to find new customers now because
Then
running a
we take
business,
work to home, and then it's like a downward trickle effect.
keeps
Yeah.
going on. And I see it so many people. That's a lot of people that come to me are in that position and go, help me get out of it. I don't want
Yeah.
this anymore. That's their cancer moment, their toxic moment. It's,
Yeah.
I've worked my life, all my life so hard, and I'm not actually enjoying. It's just a big ball of stress and anxiety, or I'm not getting the financial reward and I've got to work harder to get to that. And now I'm sacrificing my relationship with the people that I care about.
Yep. Yeah. It's I don't know. What do you think gets people to really start believing in themselves?
Yep. It's, it's the number one thing if you want to shift the needle in any area of your life. So
Mhm.
let's start with relationships. Maybe you've had some challenges in your relationships in the past, or you're in a challenging relationship now. And quite
Mhm.
often, what that does is you think, well, maybe it's not meant for me, or I've had a bad relationship in the past and I'm going to get hurt. The thing is, if you
Mhm.
live your life like that all the time, or you believe that's a negative or
Mhm.
a constrictive belief, the likelihood is you're going to have another relationship that doesn't work. Okay, because you're
Yeah.
already going in constriction and you're bringing in somebody with that constriction. It's having that belief that you can meet somebody that's in alignment with your values. And one of the exercises that I get people to do is write down the characteristics of the type of person you'd like to be with. Because
Mm.
what that does is it's helping you start looking for it. It's a vision of the relationship you want to have. And if you've had some challenges in the past, if you're finding it difficult to know what you want, write down what you don't want and then do the opposite.
Yeah.
So that's in a relationship, because in your health, it's just you. So you've got to believe, okay, let's say you want to lose weight. You have to have a
Mhm.
mental image of yourself and your self belief first. Like you'll see so many people that will go to the gym in January, do it for
A
2 weeks,
month.
3 weeks, or 2 months, and then they
Yeah.
stop. Their actual paradigm and their conditioning is pulling them back, going, "Hey, we don't like you like this version that we know." So having a belief in yourself, which isn't an arrogance, it's a that's how I'm going to be and that's how I'm going to look. And that's I'm not
Hmm.
talking just about physically. It's yes, that's part of it
You
because
have
it'll
to
come with
see
it.
it first. Yeah, you
See it
have to
first.
see it first and then start putting in the work to
Yep. And
manifest
just
it.
take small steps. Too many people want to get
Yeah.
it done in 90 days. Say to yourself,
Yeah.
I'm going to commit to this for 12 months because what happens in 12 months is it becomes your habit.
Hmm.
And then it's like a way of life and you make it's actually a priority. And going back to your earlier question about prioritizing yourself, the beauty about health is there's only one person in that equation, and that's you. Okay, unless you're getting force fed by somebody, but the reality is it's you. You can change your health because it's just you. When it's a relationship, i.e., with a partner or children, it's more of a challenge because they've got their paradigms and conditioning. However,
Hmm.
it can be done. And when you start to show up and believe, this is how my relationship can work and look like, and this is what happens is things start to shift, and even your partner starts to shift because you have.
Yeah. What
Then when you
about when
move
you
on
get
to,
discouraged?
yep, it's part of it. Usually the discouragement means you've got something to work on. Okay,
Hmm.
so be the center of it. So when I think back to times when I've been discouraged, it usually means, okay, I've got some growth to do. Whereas in the
Okay.
past, the old version of me would have blamed or played the victim. And when I say that word, it's quite a strong word
It's
sometimes,
a
but
buzzword.
a victim mentality means you're not taking ownership yourself.
Mm.
And when I first started learning about this and doing it, that was quite hard for me to swallow. But I knew
And
that
you
the
were
way I
in a
was doing it
perfect position to play the victim. You were
could off,
literally
could off,
being diagnosed with cancer is
pull me, blind
you
me.
could play the victim card. It
Yep,
was like,
not
well, I
once.
have cancer, so
That's it.
you know.
And I was not going anywhere. I did not want my
Yeah.
kids to grow up with that. And again, and there's been times in my life where that pattern of behavior, as I've shifted from health to relationships to wealth, where as in doing business and helping others, where that victim mentality has popped in. And I've
Mm.
had to go, right, stop, what's going on there? Okay, you've got a lesson to learn here. You're the
Yeah.
center of this. Okay, so I might have felt a little bit discouraged. It was like, okay, just stop. Let's just pause and have a look at what this is. And you teach yourself to start doing that more often. And I always think of the invention of the light bulb.
Yeah.
I didn't find it 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. I
Yeah.
treat everything I do with that same mentality now as, okay, I'm doing that. And rather than be frustrated, I've just found a way that doesn't work. Let's keep going.
And figure out a way that works.
Figure out a way that works. That's how it started with my health, and then that's now it happens in life. And I still get challennger now.
I think
The
that
only
should be
difference
on
is
your tombstone. Just figure out a way that works.
it's having the courage, and this is one of the things that I implemented with the boys at football and with my children. Be willing to make a mistake and actually see it as a lesson for you to learn, so you can take a stepping stone and get to your destination faster. So
Yeah.
in the past, I didn't do that. I was frightened of making mistakes, so it made me play small. Once I've learned, actually, make the mistakes and see them as learning lessons, each time you learn, you get another step closer. And actually, the journey keeps growing anyway, because the version of me 3 years ago just wanted to coach people and make an impact
Mm.
in people's lives. Once I'd actually achieved that, and that happened quickly, it manifested and happened within 7 months. I was like, whoa. And then I was like, actually, I want to do more than this. And
Yeah.
that's the journey that I'm on now. And although I have a vision for a year and 3 years, I know that actually, when this is happening now, it's going to be this or something better, and there'll be the next version.
Yeah.
I've started
You
writing
have
a
to be
book. Never,
optimistic about it. Yeah.
I started writing a book, and the Leigh Woolard that went through high school didn't even read, didn't like reading,
That's crazy.
and this is what happens when you start to shift like that.
Yeah, but um, I'm gonna leeway into our final questions, and I asked my guest all the same questions
Sure.
because I'm curious. So the first question is, what is your biggest regret in life, if you have any?
I wouldn't say I have a regret because I don't focus on them. But if I was to pull something out and say, I wish, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I wish I had these skills earlier in life.
Hmm, that's
So
good
instead
because
of discovering it at 40, I wish I'd have had it earlier so that I could go, okay,
yeah,
now I know how to navigate better without just holding on to frustration. Because I spent probably 25 years holding on to frustration. Now,
and how long did it take you to fully recover from like diagnosis to fully recovered?
so 6 months when I went into remission, and then probably another 6 months when I went for the second. So I had another two blood tests in that time, and it was the result from the one 6 months later. But I already knew it was
So
probably even
about a
earlier than
year.
that, a year in total. Yeah, to fully
That's
my blood
fast.
levels to normal. Yeah,
That's
because they
honestly
weren't.
really fast. Yeah.
But
A lot of people go
like I said to you,
years.
yeah,
Hmm.
I did get up every day, and the first thing I did was straight to writing gratitude because truthfully, I'm not a clever person, as in I come up with, all these clever different ways of doing stuff. If it's simple and it can be done, just get it done. And it was
I'm
a
the
half
same.
hour every morning, half hour, right, and just made it routine. And once you got in the habit of it, actually, it's quite enjoyable to start. And then you start to write some different
Yeah.
things.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah. All right. Next question is, who or what has made the biggest impact in your life that makes you you?
That's quite challenging to pin that on one person. However,
Who or what?
considering
Yeah.
considering the circumstance I was in, Bob Proctor changed my life. Like really
Really?
put me on a different path here. And the teachings that he did. Now I had to throw myself into it. It's not just listen to a few motivational speeches that he does on online and then that's it.
Yeah.
He taught me how to study properly and learn the principles and then apply them in my life. So without a shadow of a doubt, that was the biggest turning point.
Yeah, I've listened to his he has like this 20-minute visualization meditation
Sure.
on YouTube that I listened to for like 30 days straight. But I feel like if you just do that literally every single day, you will eventually start to believe and reach your goals.
And it is. Meditation's been a fantastic thing to add to my life because it does
Hmm.
calm everything down, helps me get clarity, create space for me to say, okay, who
Yeah.
do you want to be? Okay, now you know who you want to be. What do you want to do? And then go out, make the mistakes, take the steps, learn from it, come back at the end of the day and go, okay, that didn't work today, or it worked a little bit, so I'll take that bit and I'll improve. And that's in all
Yeah.
areas, not business.
Yeah, because sometimes that's all it takes. Like sometimes we don't even give ourselves the space or grace to figure it out.
We're
We
not
don't
taught it.
allow it. Yeah.
Growing up, so naturally we get programmed to do it a certain way, and it's a shame. It's a shame. It'd be great if we were taught it at a younger age because people would be a lot more peaceful.
Well, whoever's listening to this now, we're teaching you. So now you can go and apply it.
I hope it is. I hope it's inspiring somebody.
No, I really do. That this is the whole mission of the podcast, to be honest, and this is why I started the podcast because this is my way of giving back, and also it's a win-win because I enjoy the whole process of it. Even though I do everything now, like I produce it, I edit the videos, I edit the audio, I connected with people on Podmatch and like managing my calendar. It's a lot, but I think it's worth it. I
How
think
long
it's
have you
worth
been
it.
doing it for?
A month,
Okay.
a month since December, but I had started recording episodes since October.
So very, very early days.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed with people that are doing podcasts is it's a minimum of 3 years. Three
Hmm.
years where you're finding your voice, you're finding how much time you can put in because you've got responsibilities and a family to look after as well. So it's finding that perfect balance for you where you can still make a significant impact in a particular episode, but you can also
You can make a living
have the
and
skill.
live your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the first mini goal right now, just to try to survive.
Get the reps in. Get the
Yeah.
reps in. And even what I spoke about earlier in this, it's have a vision for it. Where would you like to be in 3 years? Who
Hmm.
would you types of guests you'd like to be interviewing? What impact would you like it to be making?
Yeah.
Because again, going back to that default, if you do it by default, it's not going to change. However, if you go, okay, I'll start to have a look
Be
for how
intentional
things can
about it.
change. So for me, I want to be able to get my message out there. Oh, it'd be great if I could speak to people who have podcasts. And it's not
Yeah.
because about me, it's actually I can impact more people because their audience might be interested in what I've got to say and share.
Hmm.
And the whole objective is okay, well, like you've done, you've brought a guest in or you're bringing guests in where they're sharing their experiences. All those stories help somebody somewhere. So it'll be
Yeah.
fantastic if you grow your audience over the next 3 years. It's not you have to have these. If it's your only thing, then you're probably going to have to do three a week. But if you're doing one or two a
Yeah.
week or whatever the number is, you're building your reps up and you're making mistakes and you're learning and you're figuring out that the editing takes longer than you think or whatever it may be. Same process for everybody, no matter what they're doing. It's
Yeah.
having the
You have to.
willingness and the
Yeah.
patience to do it
Hmm.
and to learn. If you can, and one of the great videos online is from Mr. Beast where he talks about it. He goes, just do one thing a little bit better every day. And
Yeah.
his thing was you've got to do 100 before you even like get to the next part. So
Get
every
to,
goal
yeah.
I've worked out, get to 100. Be a guest 100 times. Do 100 videos. Send out 100 emails, whatever it is, and you're always working to that number to go. I've got to get a little bit better each time. Sometimes I do them and they don't work, or they're not good. Okay, but I still showed up and did it, which is better than not. And that's certainly advice I try to give to my
I
kids
think,
first.
yeah. I think you truly have to want it as well, because my take on burnout is that you only true like you can get burnt out, I guess, but I think you don't truly get burnt out and discouraged and give up if you don't truly want it and are fulfilled by the work that it takes. Because that's what I noticed when I started podcasting, and when I noticed is that, man, I could do this for a really, really long time. Whereas other things, like I had started real estate last year, and I was putting the reps in, went 6 months, uh, did a couple rental deals, and just came back and like just looked at the bigger picture and realized, like, man, I don't think I could do this forever. And I think it's finding that in which something you find fulfilling in the work, and you have a vision of the future and you could see yourself doing the work still years down the road.
And that only comes with experience as well. So
Mm,
you don't have to have it figured out straight away. As you go
mm-hmm.
on the journey, you've got that level of awareness. Give yourself 5 or 6 years to
Yeah.
try different things and figure out, because that time period is a great,
Mm-hmm.
rather than sitting, oh, I'm going to stay safe. Hey, I'm going to spend the next 5 or 6 years, and it will be a challenge. But you know what? In
Mm-hmm.
all those challenges, you're growing. Then at least you know you've found something that you love and fulfills you. And I shared that part of my journey earlier. It was, I wanted to have a coaching program where I was able to help a group of people and see the energy from them shifting. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my first attempt at it was more a marketing group because that's what I knew. And as
Mm-hmm.
much as I loved it, and those people generally all went on to make an impact with other people. It was then at that point where I was like, actually, I need to do something for me.
Yeah.
And that's the journey that I'm on now, which I'm absolutely loving, because at times it's challenging, but not a day where I go, this is too difficult for me to stop. It's like, I know what I want to do, and this will be what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
I'm
And that's a
learning
good
every day.
place to be. Yeah.
It's beautiful because I wasn't there for so long.
Yeah. And I think another issue when it comes to the work you're doing is people want instant gratification. They want
Yep.
they want the achievement like tomorrow. They want it and they get impatient, and then that's another reason they give up. Cuz I mean, I've experienced it myself, but I think yeah, it just goes back to finding that fulfilling work that you could just keep doing.
Yep. And you've hit the nail on the head there. It's so important to, and that's why I do the vision work, which is have a vision for
Mhm.
what you would love. Not, I'll do this because it'll bring me more money, or I'll do this, which is what a lot of people do, or they get stuck, or this is what my parents wanted me to do, or I spend a lot on education. And this, if you don't love it, don't do it. Write
Yeah.
down what you would love. Okay. And then, okay, what does that look like now? And you may not know all the answers at first. Call it version one. So start
Yeah.
taking the steps and learning and navigating,
And
and
then when you
say to
do
yourself,
it, yeah.
you've
And
got to
then
be
when you
patient.
do it, and if you don't like it, then go back. Go back because you have
And if
to at least try. Give yourself the grace to try.
and if you are starting a podcast, or you are posting content on social media, or you are starting a business for the first time, you will not get instant gratification.
Yeah.
There's very, very few people who've done it and straight away hit the ground and gone and got instant gratification. Very few, if any.
Yeah, even cuz I listen to Joe Rogan a lot just to see and even him, like he didn't really blow up until like 500 episodes in, and now he's like 2000 episodes and he pumps out like 3 a week.
Because he
But
loves it. But you have
yeah.
to get to the number. You have to study the patterns, and you have to get to that number. But the first pattern you want to look at is, okay, 100. 100 pieces of
Mhm.
content, 100 podcast episodes, 100. Okay, I've got to that level. Where am I now? Actually, the message isn't resonating. So you're finding your voice. And it is a
Mhm.
challenging moment to be in, because some days you go, is this really worth it? That's when you reconnect to that vision. Why am I doing it? So when you said at the start about your podcast and why you do it, every time that you have a challenging day or a challenging moment in that day, it might be a several, reconnect to that,
Mm.
doing this to impact other people. So for me,
Yeah.
it's, okay, I've got challenging circumstances or situations. Why do you do it? Because you want to see people light up when they change, just like you did from your mentor.
Yeah. Uh, that's good, man. All right, I have 3 more questions and then we can close out.
Sure.
Uh, what's one lesson that you learned the hard way?
About making mistakes. I was so frightened, not frightened. I thought it was a reflection on me if I made a mistake. So I was fearful of making them, even though I didn't realize what I was doing. It was,
Mhm.
okay, if you don't make a mistake, you don't look bad, or if you don't make a mistake, everyone will think you're great at what you do. And actually, all it did was make me play small. And
Mhm.
it wasn't until I realized actually it's just a mistake. And actually, I can learn from it. And nobody judges you. And actually, the people, if they do judge you, it's usually because they're not doing something themselves. And when you can get over
Mm.
that hurdle, and the first mistake's the hardest one, but it's also the most rewarding one where you go, okay, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought. Because then what you start to do is go, right, I want to keep making them. And now I'm in
Mhm.
a process where I love it. And when I teach it to the kids at football, and I'm like, right, make mistakes because this is how we learn. Okay, did you see that? Wasn't that great? And they're like, yeah, okay, I've learned something. And their development because they're
Yeah.
children. So then you're inspired
Yeah.
by the children because you go, if they can do it that quickly, I need to up my game.
Yeah, I
Definitely the
always
biggest.
I always tell people that's the only way I learn is through failure, and there's no such thing as true failure unless you truly give up on yourself. And I'm bad at mistakes. I'm really bad. I'm so bad that somebody will tell me what not to do and I'll still do it just to make that mistake and really really feel like the mistake and the lesson learned.
And the
And
beauty of
yeah.
you doing that as well is you're pushing the boundary, you're learning the outcome, but your awareness is okay, now I'm starting to realize that when people say it, I'm going to start paying attention.
Mhm.
And what that's doing for you is you mature or grow or get older. And for all of us, it doesn't matter what age you're at, you start to say, okay, who am I letting into my circle that I'm actually going to listen when they give me advice? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you can get advice from people that aren't in your circle. And the
Mhm.
important thing is to know who is and who isn't. And you can listen to the people outside of it, but you don't have to action. But when the people inside your circle say, okay, I need to listen here.
Mhm.
And it's a skill that you have to learn because I wasn't great at that either. I like to,
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out myself.
Yep. That's how I was. But all right.
It's a great quality.
Yeah. Um what would you want to experience in life if time and money was not an issue?
Truthfully,
All
what
the
I'm
time, all
experiencing
the
now.
money in the world. Yeah.
Yep. Truthfully, what I'm experiencing now. So the journey that I'm on right now, I'm absolutely loving. I cannot wait to be 10 years from now and have a look back in 10 years and see the community that I've built around myself. It's already full of great people. Sometimes some not so great people can filter their way in, but that's part of the journey and the
Yeah.
learning. But what I'm noticing now is I'm building a community that lights me up. So, yeah, I feel very, very fulfilled with what I do now because every single person that I either help apply these principles with, they all change. There hasn't been one that hasn't. And I think it's because of
That's
the
great, man.
adversity and
Yeah.
challenges that I've been through that I can empathize with them and say, hey, okay, this is where I was, and all we're trying to do is shorten that gap. So rather than you're
Yeah.
running around with no awareness or what's going on, it's like, okay, now
Mhm.
you've built an awareness. Okay, let's shorten that gap. So for me, the cancer, getting over it in 12 months was, okay, what did I have to do to make that happen in that amount of time? First test.
Yeah. Yeah, which is still pretty unbelievable to be honest. I honestly don't know what I would do if I'd probably just do that. I'd follow your footsteps, man.
Brilliant. I'm sure you would because you're somebody who, in all through your life, you can see your pattern wants to figure stuff out. So you've been thrown a
Yeah.
challenge, and who knows? This conversation today, for both of us, I've learnt from you, you've learnt from me. There might be a challenge that comes in the next week where you're going to look at it very differently and go, okay, let's just pause for a moment. What's the lesson that I'm
Mhm.
learning in this, and who do I need to be to get to that next level and be
Yeah.
able to deal with it and be grateful in
Yeah.
it because it's a situation that I'm learning.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's part of life. Life is just, you never stop growing and learning. Like until the day, literally until the day you die, you will always have something to learn from and grow from and be a better person from.
The reality is we are all getting it every day. If you can open your eyes up to it, and I never used to, so this is why I'm sort of saying this now. I used to think it happened to me by default and it was just the cards that I was dealt. It wasn't until
Mm.
I started to go, hang on, I can have a say in this. It's now that I go, isn't it amazing? And don't get me wrong, I don't walk around with flowers around me every single day. I have challenges just like anybody else, and those challenges
Yeah.
can come from myself or from others around me or people I don't even know. What's beautiful is that moment where I can look back on my day and go, how did you show up in that situation? And isn't this version of you better than that old version that didn't have the skills? Great. Keep going. Because it does, it
Yeah.
makes life exciting and enjoyable rather than I've got a business to run, I've got children to look after, I've got a wife to be present for, we've got bills to pay, and I'm on that cycle where it's not happening. And no matter how
Hmm.
much effort I put in, it still didn't change the result. It wasn't until I learned these skills that I was able to change the result with half the amount of effort, maybe even less.
Yeah, because I think every day you get to choose how you show up. Honestly, you can choose to let life happen to you, or you can choose to make your life happen.
Happen. Yep. One of the things that I write down is who do I want to be today? So it's not
Hmm.
what do I want to get today, it's who do I want to be? So how do I want to show up
Yeah.
to my kid weekend? How do I want to show up to my wife? How do I want to show up for the customers? How do I want to show up when I come on somebody's podcast as a guest?
Yeah.
Do my best. Am I perfect? No. But I'm learning the skill. I'm learning to be a guest. I'm hoping that I can share information that people go, wow, he turned his life around. I'd really like to turn mine or change or shift a little bit or improve a relationship or get my health going again, or I've got a business and actually the business is weighing me down a lot.
Hmm.
I'd be interested to navigate and find out a little bit more. And that's my goal and my dream and my vision.
Well, I hope this episode goes viral so we can get that.
I appreciate that.
But my final question is: are there any last personal insights in your journey of discovering yourself that would resonate with the audience?
One of the things that I always go back to, and it's you are greater than any circumstance or situation that you're in. So if you're facing any challenge at all, which we all get challenges, that's part of life and part of growth. It's being able to
Hmm.
stop in that moment and say, I'm greater than this. I can figure it out. Now, I did that with the bone cancer diagnosis without really knowing what I was doing. It's a great story for me to go back to and say, hey, I did that consciously or subconsciously without even knowing, whereas now I do it consciously. Okay, whatever that
Hmm.
challenge is. And I've got people around me. Okay, you've got a challenge right now. You are greater than this circumstance or challenge. Let's make some decisions. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your actions? And that's how we change the result.
That's good, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. And where do you want people to follow you, or what do you want to promote? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
just best thing to do if you want to come into my world is follow on social media. So Instagram's good, Leigh Woolard. YouTube, same again, Leigh Woolard, spelled Leigh1Lard. Just start listening to some of the videos. Hopefully, one of them resonates with you or more. I often have people reach out to me and say, hey, I've been watching your videos this week and a particular topic might be resonating with them. So just come into my world that way.
All right, man. And everybody listening, don't forget to like and share this with somebody who you think would resonate with. Thanks.
Thomas, thank you for having me. And to your listeners, I hope they've enjoyed the episode and they listen to more. Go back and listen to your one on gratitude. It was fantastic. And I wish everybody well, and I wish you well and your family.
All right. Peace.